You know, I always kind of wanted to have a pet, but I was kind of thinking of something a little more fluffy. There we go, that's better. I love you, strange little cat rabbit thing.
Hey Rangers, welcome to Super Important Reviews. My name's Steve.
I'm Jessica.
And today I'll be going over the X Plus Garage Toys 30 centimeters Godzilla vs. Evangelion EVA Unit 2 G Awakening version. Or you might know as also the Unit 2 Beast Mode. Mixed with Godzilla. A little bit too much Godzilla from what I've seen on this box anyways. Because compared to Unit 1, I can already see that this has way more Godzilla involved on it than what we've seen on Unit 1 anyways. He was like half and half. This one's pretty much mostly Godzilla. Not 100% certain yet, but we'll know a little bit more after we get him out of his prison. But if you don't know what this is a collaboration between Godzilla and Evangelion where they take a kaiju with an Evangelion and mix it all together. And this is based off the form that you've seen in Neon Genesis Evangelion 2.0, You Cannot Advance. And the main reason we picked this up is because since we already had Unit 1, kind of felt like we needed to pick this guy up. And I recently found this on Mandrake for, it was $320 after shipping. Just about. It came out that much in yen. And seemed like a steal for this guy, because I remember when Big Bad Toy Store had this thing up for pre-order at like 600 and something, I think it was.
Yeah, it was not nice.
Yeah, so definitely if you want this, Mandrake had a few as of this recording, so definitely go check them out, because they are pretty much all, this one came in unopened. It just had retaped from the factory. And also to point out that they are going to be reissuing that Unit 1 we've been speaking of. We already did a review for it on this channel, so definitely go check that out. But this one is not getting a reissue because I imagine that this one wasn't nearly as popular. Would probably be the reason. But still looks really sweet inside, at least on the package anyway. So without further ado, so we can get into it for its packaging. It's pretty much what you see right here, where you have the figure inside of the packaging, doing a nice little pose in the front with a lot of red. The Godzilla vs. Evangelion on the top, which I still love that little logo. Looks sweet. Garage Toys X Plus, 30 centimeters, bunch of stuff I can't understand. Got the P for Plex on the bottom, and that's pretty much about it. It's just a cardboard box with some legal mumbo jumbo on the back of it. So let's get him open up out of his cardboard prison. All right, so now that we got the big guy open up out of his cardboard prison, first there's some assembly required, which how you attach the tail here. What you're gonna do is right at the base of the kaiju's rear end, you're gonna want to take your hairdryer, heat up right around here till the vinyl gets soft enough so that you can insert the tail. So I'm gonna run the hairdryer here for a few seconds and then we'll come back to shove that bad boy in there. Alright, so let's try this now. And we go right around here. Mostly in there. Damn it. What's going to be a pain in the butt, it seems. This is a small opening for such a spiky kaiju. Okay, had to get it closer so I could see what the heck was going on. So now we got it kind of worked into there. So now it should just pop right in. Should. Keyword. This side is still giving me a little bit of problems here. Alright, there we go. Had to rotate it a bit to get it to line back up, but there we go. I don't quite hardcore recommend doing what I just did because you can possibly scuff up the paint job here. But now, looks pretty well lined up. The only thing is the dorsal spines there don't seem like they line up very well. But I guess there we go. Like that, a little bit shifted. Yeah, alright, cool. Got the tail on. That was way harder than it really needed to be.
At least it's got its own support with the tail.
Well, I guess the one thing I really like about this, as of right now, is that the way he's standing, I'm not too worried about the vinyl warping over time. Because with Unit 1, we brought it up that his legs seemed like it was a little squishy, and that the way he's standing, it made him kind of hard for him to stay upright. Over time, that got a little worse because his legs started dipping in a bit, so yeah, I periodically have to reheat it back up to get it back into the shape that it was. And I've actually started using a stand with it now, so I don't have to worry about him tipping over on anybody. This one, on the other hand, I don't really feel like I'm going to have that issue with because it has all 4 feet on the ground. plus the tail here for a little bit of added support, which is really nice to see. And then starting with the pose, it's definitely very feline. Like, it kind of has that like scared cat look, where the dorsal spines are more like the raised hairs on the back.
Yeah.
And then you have its cooling tubes sticking out in random portions of the kaiju, which is super cool. And yeah, it's a really weird looking pose, especially for something like this. But I really dig it. Especially like the way it has like the gnarling expression on the front here. Looks really solid. Has a little bit of a curve to it. So it gives it's not just stagnant, like looking straight at you.
Yeah.
So it has a really nice shape. The thing, I kind of wish maybe the tail was like raising up a bit though. Because especially with it having its back arced, it's kind of weird to see its tail just kind of slumped to the ground. Preferably, I think it would have been cool if it maybe would have been shooting out a little bit more. But then that might have affected its overall base for the figure. And then moving on to a closer look at its details for its head sculpt. That is an insane looking jaw. Mm-hmm. All the teeth are individually molded and painted. Very nicely, I might add. Even like looking at the under roof of the mouth, I didn't notice this before doing the review, but it has like an extra segmented section of jaw right there.
Like an eel.
Yeah, and then the roof of the mouth has done a very nice red and slightly pink flesh tone. The tongue is kind of stretching the base of the mouth. Not sure what that's supposed to be like. Is that how cats like when they go?
I think so.
Does their tongue just kind of, I guess, like your tongue kind of does that when you do it. I'm not sure what this is though. Just like the little vein or the skin stretching right here. The little membrane, because this makes sense. This part, not so much. I think it's just there for kind of creepiness factor.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then he has a giant chin, which is accurate because of Unit 2 had the same thing going on here. So it's pretty much like what the arbor shape would have been. But this just has skin in there, skin and bones. But I do love the skeletal structure because it's not very Godzilla, but you see Godzilla in it. Especially with the armor plate here on this side of the top portion of Unit 2's head. You have the nice little like horn crest right here on the front section. And you can see here where it transitions from an armor plate to an eyebrow. And you see both of the eyes looking upwards, which is really nice because when you have it posing with the Unit 1, Unit 1 actually looks down. So it kind of gives you that Godzilla raids again kind of look.
Yeah.
Where you have him looking up at Unit 1 kind of like he's scared. I'll show you and when we do the comparisons what I'm talking about, but it looks phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And then you have the Godzilla scaling on the side of the head here, undersection. Has a little bit of this sagging pouch on the undersection of the jaw. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Otachi right there.
Yeah.
Where you have the venom sac. On the back portions of the shoulder blades, you have the Unit 2 armoring, which is the only real predominant piece of armor on the kaiju. Because the only other section here you have is for the top portion of the thigh. And then underneath here you have the armor plating for the groin and abdomen region. Because for his shoulders, it just has some of the yellow there, but it's actually just like muscle mass going down into his arms, which for the front are actually hands. I was kind of expecting paws, but no, definitely has hands that he's on all four with. Because the back here is more like traditional dinosaur feet. So that's kind of what I was expecting for all four, but nope. And for the claws are done in a very nice bone coloring with a little bit of what appears to be a dark brown frost for the back section here. Same with ones on the front claws as well. Look really nice. The tubes are probably the things that I really like and also have probably the biggest complaint about for the cooling rods sticking out on the back here. Because for the most part, they're all lined up very nicely. But there's a couple like right here where it's bent a little bit, which some heating might be able to fix, but it's just kind of sad to see it right here on the figure. It's also back here. This one's a little warped, but Nothing too bad. And for the dorsal spines now, these things are gorgeous, I might add. Because for the tips here are done in a very nice neon yellow, and then you have this neon orange for the center base. Looks really good, gives them like a burning kind of look. And it's also very accurate for what Unit 2's color scheme was. But when you get to like the tail, the coloring changes just ever so slightly. Like more of the orange shows up here than the yellow, which is a little weird. It's slightly distracting.
Yeah.
But it's not that bad. It's definitely not like our SH Monster Arts Shin Form 2 and 3 where it's just like totally different color once you hit the tail. It's just more of the base colors show up on the tail. And because on the ones that come away from the head, these are actually just yellow.
Well, I see some orange in there.
It's mostly yellow.
I see some orange right there.
They're very little. Very super little amount.
Not a lot to work with.
Yeah, for shoulders and sides, same Godzilla scaling with a little bit of a blue tinge to them. You can see here too on the back portion of the arms here and on the calves. A little bit on the tail. It's in a slightly gloss color. Slightly, like almost metallic. It really helps to show off a lot of the detailing on the figure though, which is cool. It's not just charcoal black all the time on the figure, which I can really get behind. The armor plating, very Evangelion Unit 2 with a nice cherry red with a little bit of a darker red for some of the wear. The only thing it looks like is there's a little bit of a scratch right here on mine out of the box.
Oh, I actually didn't notice that ever.
A little bit of a scuff, but it kind of like, I don't know, like it's hard to see. It depends on the lighting, because looking at it from the side, I barely notice it, but once you get the light reflecting off a little bit, it's definitely more noticeable. That's the only real hiccup I see on the armor sections, for the most part. Possibly right here is a little bit of extra paint that was left on the figure, but nothing too bad. Like for how much paint apps this thing has going on to it, I'll take a couple of things here and there. It's just like, I guess my one complaint is with the armor plating is, compared to Unit 1, it's a little too clean. Like I maybe would like to see like up here where you see the armor plating is integrating into the scaling. I kind of would like to see that more here too on the armor platings for the legs, because it literally just looks like it's resting on top. Same with on the stomach and the crotch piece. Because it's just kind of weird seeing the armor just kind of spread out here and there. And it maybe would have been nice to have seen it integrating into the body a little bit more. Maybe even a couple more armor plates to transition into these being solid. So maybe having like some armor plating up here that's fusing in and then leaving this part alone.
Yeah, even if it was like the base for the, to show where the tubes come out.
Yeah, because it's really odd just to see tubes and skin. It's a cool look though. Like it's definitely different. There's just, yeah, maybe some armor plating around these sections and then fusing in this part shooting up will help to add to the overall aesthetic. And then the tail just kind of comes down and folds up to the right side of the kaiju. But the dorsal spines only come down about halfway to the tail, and then it's just standard tail for the rest of it. And it's not very Godzilla. Like you get a little bit of the segmenting right here, but pretty much where the dorsal spine stops is where the segmenting stops as well. Then you also have some dew claws here on the back of the kaiju. Actually, you have 4 of them.
Yeah, that definitely does go more with Shin, considering he has those extra little...
Yeah, it's very, very sheen. Very sheeny. So for a quick comparison, here we have the Evangelion Unit 2 compared next to Unit 1 from the Godzilla vs. Evangelion series. Which, yeah, look great next to each other. Real quick, I will set them up in the pose I was talking about, which is going to take me a minute because, again, I have to use a stand with him to keep him upright.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, and then after I tried to, his leg started sinking more, so I was like, okay, we got to finesse this a little bit more. So right back, and I will pose them appropriately. So ideally, if you had them on your shelf, you probably want them set up something like this, because as you can see, Unit 1 is looking down at Unit 2, Unit 2 is looking up at Unit 1. I kind of like the way the posing is working with it, because he's kind of bending towards Unit 1, and then Unit 1's kind of curving towards Unit 2. Issue is, this takes up a crap ton of shelf space. Crap ton. Like, this is pretty much the review table right now. But yeah, they look great next to each other, though. Like, this is easily probably one of my favorite setups in my collection right now. And here's the Evangelion Unit 2 compared next to some other X Plus figures with the 25cm Gabara and the 30cm Godzilla 1962. And here's some other large action figures in my collection with the Bandai DX God Gundam from G Gundam and the Thunder Megazord from the Bandai Power Rangers Legacy line. And finally, here it is next to the SH Monster Arts Shin Godzilla and the Robot Spirits Evangelion Unit 1. So overall, the X Plus Godzilla vs. Evangelion Unit 2 G Awakening version. This X Plus is a really awesome release in the line. Granted, super hard figure to get a hold of for the most part, but still an awesome release in the line, with it being a Bandai Japan exclusive. The details on it are stellar. I love the pose, minus the tail, but still love the pose. The detailing on it's fantastic. I love the overall design of it, and I think they did a knockout job with the overall kaiju.
Yeah, they both look really good together, just despite the price. But of course, we can't live in Japan.
Yet. And probably ever. But yeah, overall, the felineness of the monster definitely is a selling point for us, because Jessica loves her some cats and cat kaijus and anything that meow, she wants it.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you already have the Unit 1 G Awakening version and want a nice companion piece to go along with it, then definitely pick up the Unit 2 Awakening version. But if you're just a fan of Evangelion, then this is kind of a hard sell, because you have to either really like the design or also be a fan of Godzilla in order to really appreciate the piece to its fullest. And for the price tag, probably not worth it at that point. What do you guys think? If you guys picked up any of these X Plus Godzilla vs. Evangelion figures, what's your favorite crossover action figure? Or is Attack on Titan just more your thing? Please let us know in the comments. We'll have a closer picture of these guys on our website if you want to click the link in the description below. We also have a Patreon account if you guys like to help support the channel, also down in the description. And help us defeat those kaijus by hitting that like button, subscribe, become a ranger today, and see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.